to sharing my screen. So just everybody needs to know this. I'm being recorded as of now. So here I am for purposes of the viewing audience beyond today's Zoom participants. Joyce Feustel with Boomer Social Media Tutor. I've been doing social media tutoring and training, focusing on LinkedIn for 11 years. And today's training will focus strictly on the LinkedIn profile. So I'm going now to share my screen. Let me just actually make sure I have the right screen up. Here we go. Go to home and LinkedIn. And now I'll share my screen. So it should go to the right place. Here we go. So little show of hands, can people see the home screen? Actually, I'm going to go over quickly to my profile. You see, now you should see me in a red sweater, right?
Yes.
Pretty good with that. Everybody see me? Okie doke. What we're going to do is go right from top to bottom. And I'm going to go fairly lickety split. Realize this is recorded. I will send you the slide deck so you don't have to take any notes at all unless you're a compulsive note taker like I am wherever I am. Oh, the banner is such a key part. You want to see a cool banner, go to Michelle Hoagland. I just happened to notice that this morning, Michelle, and especially ask her about the boob report, which has to do with a resource guide for women who have had breast cancer like Michelle has. So LinkedIn is more than simply your day-to-day job. It can be more about you holistically. And that, of course, is all a judgment call when you think about it. The other broad statement I want to say is that LinkedIn on its face is boring, right? Let's just say what it is. It is boring. So what can we do to make it less boring? You can have a jazzy cover photo, background photo, banner, whatever you want to call it. And that's what Michelle has done. And what I have done here is there's my logo, picture of me looking authoritative. There's my ebook. So you have this nice montage. Your profile photo, it should look like you. That's all. They're pretty straightforward. And just your headshot is plenty. Now let's go into any credentials. There were a couple of people who signed up. They're not here today, but I think I'll use them as examples. One of them, Shelley, is a CPA. That's the kind of thing you'd put after your last name, or even maybe an MBA if you had one. If you have a BA, BS, AA, whatever, I don't know that I'd put that in. But any kind of known credential, just the letters, you can put that. Then down here in profile headline, you could lay that out. What do those words mean? The different kinds of coaches here. You may have a certain coaching credential, like probably you do, Marcia, and I'll be probably do too. Then tell us exactly the name of that coaching credential. The profile headline has 220 characters. You don't have to max it out by any means, but then again, don't have it be too skimpy. Lead with what's most important. See, LinkedIn trainer, social media consultant. When you go to comment on somebody's post, have you ever noticed it has your name and it has part of your headline, but not all, just the first few words in it. So anytime you show up on LinkedIn, you want to think, okay, how am I showing up? How am I branding myself? If you have a cool honor, like I did this year, heck, own that. Talk about who you help. I help business owners. I help job seekers. I help nonprofits. And if you have a tagline, this is a good time to throw that in. Again, this how much you want to do this really your choice. But yet, a lot of people won't go beyond the headline. So next up, make sure I have this right here, would be your contact info. Now, let's say, I'm going to back up a minute. Let's say up here, maybe some of you, maybe I'm going to pick on you a little bit already because you're back in the fold here. You may have something up here that has your first name, last name, and some random letters and numbers. Don't feel odd about that. That's probably the norm. But if you want to brand yourself even up here in this LinkedIn URL, the profile URL, very easy peasy, a couple places you can do it. I'll show you one way. You go to the pencil and contact info again, which is right here right next to where you live, contact info, go to the pencil. And now look at this. See, you click on that box with the arrow that comes out. And this goes kind of also to that point about Google and LinkedIn being so good partners. See over here, there's a teeny tiny little pencil stub. So you click on the stub and you have to just take your little cursor and go in there all the way in and wipe out those numbers and letters, right? Keep your name and then put in like you would be a mental fitness coach, Aurelia. And you know what? There is room for your first name, your last name, and maybe a hyphen, and then mental fitness coach, say one word. You have 100 characters. Back in the day when you first on LinkedIn, I think you had like 30, but now you have 100. So you save whatever your changes are. And while you're in this page, do me a favor, and this also relates to the Google LinkedIn, this it does. Make sure this little circle is blue by public. Because I have a daughter, Jane, age 40. Has she ever had a LinkedIn account? No, because she's always worked in nonprofits. She always gets jobs through connections. She recently got her master's in social work. She probably still is not going to get a LinkedIn account, but she Googles people and she sees their LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that this, I think the default can be this one. I mean, double check on that. So make sure instead it's public. And let's say you were dinking around with some of these sections, you were hiding them. Do not hide them. I don't care if they're not perfect. Keep them all displaying, because when people are doing that Google search, as Michelle mentioned, then they will see all of you, warts and all. It's okay. We all have warts, right? Okay, so then let's look at the email. This email could be, maybe not for you really, because you just updated yours, but who knows, one of you here maybe. It's like a Yahoo account or something, or an MSN from when you first started 10, 15 years ago. Well, no, we don't want that. We want it to be your business account. Or if you were looking for work, you'd want it to be the Gmail account perhaps you have on a resume. It's tricky when you have more than one endeavor, I know, but pick the email that most, for the business that most likely is connected to LinkedIn people. You don't need to have a phone number. I happen to like a Google Voice number. That's what you see here. But I want to show you something, other really cool thing. So here are 3 websites you can have. Go back to use Michelle's example with the business. So she would have, like, say, Top Hat. I think you do have this, I noticed. You would have, she's got a website, her boob report, the website research for the women with breast cancer, can be listed because you have 3 websites you can list. So like James, say you had a separate website for the work you do with Topgolf. I don't know if you do or don't, how you have that branded, but you could list that there. So any kind of volunteer endeavor you have, or if you have those 2 or 3 different income streams, each of them can have a website here. And that's a clickable link. So think about that. So now we're moving down. Like I said, we'll take questions at the end. Check my notes here. Okay, we're to the about section and the skills. I'm going to just touch on skills first, because I would guess it's about a year or so that they've even had top skills. Now, for many, many, many years, you had something called specialties, and specialties were a section typically at the bottom of the about section. But you know what? You don't have to waste those. You have 2,600 characters in about. Maybe you don't want to bother with them there. Maybe you do, but you can have these 5 top skills and look how nicely they display. They're always going to be there, even though you only see a couple lines of the about section. How do you add them? You go to your pencil there by about. And if you don't have any at all, when you get down here, there'll be nothing in this space. So you just click on add skill. And then when you do that, you'll be prompted to associate that skill with 1 or more positions in your experience section, and even in other parts of your profile. So feel free to do that. So that's how it works. You can move these around. If maybe I wanted branding and identity, maybe somewhere in here, it's really, you can do whatever you want. But that's how these 5 then look here at the end. But let's just peek into my about section. And I'm not saying it's perfect. Last time I redid this, I actually did go to ChatGPT and I got some good ideas. I keep modifying it. And so here's, who are my people? The main people I'm looking for are those 55 and older, though I do have plenty of youngers, who are just stumped. I mean, they are frustrated. They're kind of like Jo before she talked to me, and maybe Jo again, like, okay, Joyce, how does this go again? I need your help. So you ask them questions, get them to think that that looks like me. I'm born between 46 and 64. Interesting. Oh, I'm a business owner. Okay, what does Joyce do? Does she give me a bunch of homework and then I have to do it and I don't want to do it? No, look at that. I do these things with you. I'll sign you. We take making tweaks in real time. That's their operative phrase, folks, real time. And then, you know what, speaking of reputation management, gal over here, Michelle, she could help you with this too. I take this lovely Google review from my wonderful coach, Mary Gall, and I just slap that baby right in there. And I don't have to ask for permission, right? Because it's a Google review. Now, if you have this love note, maybe handwritten somewhere, you keep it on your bookcase, like I have mine, or an email from someone who's maybe not even on LinkedIn, like my daughter, or isn't LinkedIn with you, no problem. You just go get their permission and you can just pop that right in there too. So now you got a little social proof mixed in with what you say about yourself. Maybe tell a little bit of your origin story. People love my origin story. Because here I am, 75 years old. How am I such a smarty pants around LinkedIn? You may wonder, Aurelia, because you're a new friend of mine now. It's because when I was 61 years old, my manager gave me the idea for this business. Isn't that sweet? When he was 65 and I know he was 35 and I was 61, and there was no ageism in that man. He didn't have a lick of it. He saw something in me which I never had thought of. And that's how I'm sitting here today. It's so cool. And then who else do I hang out with? Like James mentioned, Denver Area B2B Networking Group. That's why I know James. The She Leads Group, Supporting Hearts and Enterprise. That's where Mary Weiss and I are connected. So drop some names in here of entities where you are proud to be a member. And for me, Little Miss Toastmaster, done that for 27 years, may as well reference those too. And then I have a call to action in my website. So, that's really how I do it. Again, this is one that really needs to be modified to you. I mean, everything is about you. Some things are a little more cut and dry than others. So let's go on. I'm going to talk briefly about the services section. How do you get the services page to populate? You may be asking. You go up here to open to, and then you will see a drop down called providing services. What is the services page? It is like a mini website tucked into your profile. And you have to pay, oh, I hate this part, $70 a month to have any kind of visuals, pictures, links to YouTube, etc. Don't do that probably, unless you're maybe Michelle might want to do that. I'm thinking of a few. Michelle, maybe James, might be a good investment. But even if you don't have a paid account, you should be able to at least list, let's get back up there, see more, let's do it this way. So see, you can put in your text, 500 characters, got to be really concise. And I have 10. I think you can list more than 10. I don't know if anybody knows that or not, if you looked in this lately, but I couldn't find more than 10 I really wanted to include. But you can at least have this part in there. So it's better than nothing, right? Now we're going to featured. Now this has been around since April 2020. I remember that because it came out when COVID did. That's why I have this distinct memory. Here, there's no charge, not at all. And how do you add featured? Good question. We go to add profile section, which is where you add all your profile sections except for the services page. So then we go to recommended, and there it is. See, add featured, da-da-da. So we get into featured, and of course, yours is not going to look at like mine because mine's populated. You'll see a little graphic here. Click on the plus. You can feature a post. You can feature a newsletter, a LinkedIn newsletter if you have one. See, there's mine there. You have an article. It's a little longer typically than a post, and formatted slightly differently. A link to a landing page. It helps if there's a visual, so work on that. And even a picture, PowerPoint, all these things you can feature, and you can move them around. So that's featured. And to me, featured is one of the very best ways to add that energy, that a kind of, the electricity of you, the excitement of you, all of that gets in here. Now, here I was interviewed for a podcast. Maybe some of you do that, or you have a podcast. So this is a good opportunity for me to talk up that podcast. And if you have like 45 seconds and you think I'm a really fascinating person, I know, like James likes me a lot. He might sit there and listen for 45 minutes. I don't know. But it tells how I met my husband and how I started my business. And it's a lot of fun. So, of course, I'm biased because it's about me. So that's featured. Now, where are you moving to? Let's see. We're going down to experience. Okay, this is the meat and potatoes part. The profile. Pretty straightforward, kind of resume-esque. However, if you have an offering, you have more than one offering. So say you, Michelle, under Top Hat, have really different, specifically different offerings, like Google Business Profile. That's one thing you really focus on, or whatever else they may be. Or you, James, you might have very distinct offerings. And what you could theoretically do, I wouldn't overdo this, is have them broken into 2, maybe 3 at the most, different positions. So here, this is my overarching, oops, went to the wrong one. The first one here is me as a social media tutor and trainer. I don't know why it's taking me over to my business page. Isn't that the weirdest thing? Well, I know why. I know why. I know why. Okay, this is why. Okay, my bad. All right, so here it is. See, this is what I do. What are my list of things, services I provide? Here's another testimonial who talks about why she loves me so much and what I did for her. Who do I do it for? Little call to action. Now, see, these thumbnails are smaller, granted, than a featured, but I have a link to a recent PowerPoint I used to teach this class to people at CU Denver. I have a picture of me speaking at a recent SHE event, Sporting Hearts and Enterprise. So I separate out the trainer and presenter, kind of like I'm doing today. I separate that out so I can list representative speaking engagements because I get business through referrals, like Neil was talking about. I get business through speaking engagements, through the internet. Those are the main ones. And then, so again, here's a couple testimonials. I might drop one just so I have a couple more, so I have more room for testimonials. And the final thing I listen is this very meetup group, which by the way, goes back to December 17. So one of the reasons I listed is to show my commitment to education around social media and people networking with each other as we're doing today. So now we're out of experience. I think we're done here. And you can move things around when you have several things going on. And I wonder if, Michelle, you could figure out a way to do that for your top hat rather than close it out and rename it. But you can think about it. You could say formally top hat or something. But here, if you go in here, see, when you have everything that says present, you can move around. So here's actually a volunteer role that I have. So we list those too. So I'm secretary of a chapter of the Supporting Hearts and Enterprise Leads group. So I'm going to move this higher because actually that's a more important group to me. And this is nuanced here than the group right below it. So that's how you can reorganize, but only if they're currently happening, things that are within your experience section. How far back to go? Well, none of you are job seekers from what I can tell. So then you can go back as far as you want. If you don't want to go into stuff from, I don't know, say the 90s or the early aughts or something, you can always do a little synopsis of that chapter of your life over in the About section if you want. Education, pretty straightforward. I'm just going to skip that for now. But other than to say, you don't have to say your year that you went to college. And a lot of people don't know that's not required. Now, I know there's people, again, like James here, probably Michelle, and probably others too, all the coaches. You have certifications, right? You might have a license. Like we had an insurance lady I was thinking might be here. She would have an insurance license. So how do you add those if you haven't already thought to do that? You go back up to our friend, add profile section. It also happens to be here and recommended. There it is. See, license and certifications are there. Projects are there. Courses are there. Recommendations, I don't know if I'd use that approach, but that's one place to go and ask for somebody. And while we're up here, let me just give you a cruise through the other ones. You volunteer someplace, include that, probably. Publications, you've been in, chapter of a book, article in a newsletter, you have an ebook, whatever it is. Patents, sometimes people have patents. Honors and awards, test scores, probably not. Languages, organizations, causes. So those all live under the additional section. See that? And the others are under recommended. And once you get used to it, you can kind of just by hook and by crook figure it out. So let's see, where were we? So projects. Projects are great. Like James, I'm thinking for your top hat thing, that could be a great project to list if it's, unless it's ongoing, then maybe you do want to put it up potentially under the experience or certainly under volunteering. I like this one. And Mary Wiest is here. She and I are in the same chapter of this She Leads group. So I've listed her and Debbie, who are the two people from our chapter who are spearheading our chapter's involvement with this wonderful project where we help to get purses into the hands of ladies in shelters, domestic abuse shelters, also just homeless shelters. So that's a one, they do it every year, or we do it every year. And one other thing about projects, think about it. If you associate yourself with somebody well-known in the community, such as Beth Bowen in particular, people, oh, I know Beth. I mean, gosh, Mary, can we ever find anybody who doesn't know Beth? She seems to be very well networked. So that's a good person to bring up. Or, and I bet this is somebody you might know, Michelle. Here I did it, last year I did a couple of presentations for international summits. And here's Katie Brinkley. very well known, right, in the Denver metro area, fabulous lady. So I'm very proud to be part of something that she does. But here's another good one. I wrote the LinkedIn section for a chapter of this book called No Limit Over 50. What to do if you've been let go, replaced, displaced, or just something different. So these two dudes, they know like nothing about LinkedIn. And I met this guy, I met him through the gal. Oh, she was in Simplify, not Simplify. She was in Colorado Women in Social Media, and she was involved with this dude's. She was producer for his podcast. And so that's how I got connected with him, because I was on his podcast. And then through that, I got to be in their book. So, at any rate, you never know where things lead. I'll think of it, Michelle, at some point. And yeah, skills. No. Well, here we go. So after projects comes volunteering. And that's me. Like I volunteer with my Chamber of Commerce. You can move things around in volunteering. You know what? Even if you're no longer in the organization, it's not like the work section. You can move these. See, I haven't been with them since 2020, but I can still have them kind of high in my volunteering because there's such a well-known organization here in the Denver metro area. Or let's say you're like me, like, oh, Janet, this would work for you. So Janet, who has been involved with her sorority for many years and got me connected to them. I got to do a little speaking gig with them. So if you've held different positions, perhaps in whatever group that is, you don't have to list every single darn one. That would just overwhelm your profile, right? No, instead, aggregate them. See, like I've done this for these larger, higher level positions. And currently I have officer roles in my 3 clubs I belong to. So I mentioned those clubs in those officer roles. So that's how I handle those. There's the Rhino, the B2B group that I know James from. So I'm a big fan of redundancy. There's nobody's going to sit and read all the way through somebody's LinkedIn profile. So you never really know when you're going to catch their attention. So heck, why not tell them kind of the same thing, but in different ways in different part of your profile. So here we get to skills. The key thing I want to make sure you all know is that you can move around the order of your skills. So watch carefully. Click on the pencil, always a place to go to edit. Click on these 3 dots, see this, and then we get to the reorder. So there's a step before we get to our friend, the little arrow things. And now let's say I want a LinkedIn coach to be higher, and probably I do actually, than LinkedIn marketing, because really what am I? I'm a coach. So, and a trainer, primarily, functionally. So that's why, see how we just move those? Easy peasy, right? Boom, boom. So periodically go through and make sure your skills are still somewhat relevant. You might have a skill from 20 years ago, like, oh, I don't know how to do that, but I don't even like doing that. Well, just delete that baby. So how you delete them is just to go to the pencil and then see you just go down and delete them. And make sure you go through systematically to get the skills associated with the right positions and your position in that experience section. They say to only do like 7 or so, but I'm like, nah, I'll just do as many as I want. Recommendations are important. I was just talking to a friend of mine today. She's got like 25 recommendations, but none for over a year. So that's like the Google review thing. You might have some great Google reviews. Maybe go to that person. Probably you're on LinkedIn with them. And then what you do, let's say I go to, let's say James. I don't know you've recommended me yet. So James seen me present different times. So I go to James, very simple to do. I go, nice banner, by the way, very nice, pristine look. Okay, so I go to more, and then I'm going down to request a recommendation. So what's my relationship? Well, we've worked together. We're kind of in the same group. So with Rhino, let's say that. And my position is, well, more the trainer and presenter. I don't think you need my tutoring, but you like to listen to me talk or something. So then I'm going to click on send, right? See, what did that take? 20 seconds? So now that's gone off to James, but I would not stop there, folks. I would send James an email. I would text him, however I normally communicate with James, and say, hey, James, go look up in your messaging, in your LinkedIn messaging. There's a request from me to please write me a LinkedIn recommendation. And let's pretend he's already written that Google review. So I could say, hey, you could just pretty much say what you said on the Google review. Here's what you said. See, that makes it simple, doesn't it? So there you go. And now you get another recommendation. It's no effort. The key is that to be recommended, to have someone endorse you for a skill, you have to be connected on LinkedIn. So really think about that for you as you're getting back into the flow here. Now, here's these last few sections. I think I'm pretty good on time. Here's the rehab publications. This is a fun book to read. Owning Your Feminine Power. My story, 3 of the gutsiest things I ever did. You know, I ran for public office in March of 1980. And shortly after I decided to run, I got offered a job. And then I got pregnant. It was a big spring. And there I am on the county board, pregnant out to here at the county board convention in 1980. You didn't see a lot of women on the county board, much less pregnant women. That was quite the phenomenon. So I write about that experience. And anyway, it was stories of my life. It was a lot of fun. So these are all different publications. I already talked about the ebook. Honors and awards. They don't only have to be for business. Like I've done so much for Toastmasters. I have kind of like a lifetime achievement award. This one here, it's the Toastmaster of the year. So out of 3,000 people, I was named like the most important one that year or whatever, the one that did the most servant leader work. That's the better, not the most important, really. And so I've done a lot of things with them. And even in college, I was giving back. So own that. You have a theme going through your life, like one of mine is being of service to others, then include that in ways that aren't always start with I. And finally, here's organizations. Like here's a new group I just got involved with, Aspen Business Connect. Cool. I spoke to them. Still trying to figure out how I'm going to pay back the $700 membership. Maybe if you know anybody in Aspen, tell me about that. I'll figure it. Otherwise, it's a good donation to a worthy cause. So I'm going to wrap it up, but keep the recording going to see what questions you may have of what I've covered so far or anything else that you want to come up with. So just unmute and fire away. There was a lot to take in.
I'll jump in, Joyce.
Okay, go for it.
I put a couple things in the chat.
Oh, okay. That was hard for me to track on while I was
Yeah,
talking.
sure. One of the things that my LinkedIn profile is missing is a lot of my history.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to put it all out there and publish it.
Oh,
right
there.
now. Is there a way to put that information in there in some organized fashion and then only pick and choose what you publish?
No.
Does that make sense? Okay.
No.
Put it in there, it's there.
Yeah, but here's what I would do. Remember when I talked about doing kind of a composite, sort of an overview? So one way to refer to your past without the chapter and verse approach of the experience section, which could distract people maybe. So Neil, what if you went into your about and write down and say about at this point of it, toward the end, prior to launching my coaching business, I did blah, blah, blah. So you could just have a simple narrative paragraph. You could have a series of 3 to 5 bullets, maybe. You could say you did this and for this company, like just a job title and an entity. Then you don't have to think that was back in 87 or something. Who cares? So but no, LinkedIn it's all or nothing, really. You can't just have like a selective audience see it. And I would just do a little concise summary.
Okay,
That's my best. Other questions or observations? What else is in the chat? Especially if you put it in the chat and I just missed that.
Oh, the other thing I put in there, I just was catching up. I have a raft of videos that are testimonials. One of them is finally edited and is published on my website. Is there an appropriate place to put that kind of reference in here?
Well, there's like 3 or 4 ideas come to mind. First off, you could put the very best one and put it and the skip service for no, put it as featured. So what you do, Neil, is you go to this plus, see this here, and then when you have add a link. So say you have that as a YouTube video or even a Vimeo, whatever the link is, I'd put it there, and then that should go through. Hopefully you and I could work on this together if we needed some offline time. That's one place. Other place you could do it too, Neil, would be under your business description. Let's go into edit mode. So now we're going to edit it. Say you were in your section, your position description. Oops. And we're going to scroll down till we get to media. So watch this. So here in media, again, you can add a link. So you could have maybe 2 or 3 even list. I think they display about 3 or 4 across the bottom thumbnails. So that's a place to put it. No, there's a fellow who I know. Yeah, that's Neil and I know each other through that PBN group, Preferred Business Network. Now, Keith, is it Keith, that the reverse mortgage guy? You know what he did? I'm not so sure I'm for it, but what he did, you know what? He took the project section and he has a series of his recommendations listed as individual little projects. Not that I'm necessarily keen on that, but that's another possible place to include it. I'm probably forgetting something. Or you could have a post that talks about the kind of work you do, and then you could have that video testimonial as a link in the post. See, when you go here to create a post, see this here,
Mhm.
and then you say add media, and then you could take that media from that actual testimonial and put it at the bottom of your post and then feature that post. That's another idea.
I like that.
I like that too, personally. Yeah, I kind of had to work my way there. I'm an extrovert, so I have to talk for a while to know what I'm thinking. Other thoughts? We got a
Thank
couple
you.
more minutes. And I'd really appreciate if each of you would do me the favor and go to my profile. And you know why? Because it feeds my ego, because my profile views are down just a little bit. I'd like to get them closer to 500 again. Yeah, just spread the word. James, you got any questions or thoughts here?
Yeah, I was wondering, can you do that project? Does it have that project option on a business, on your business account or your business page?
Let's go look. Oh my God, that is such a good question. They have recently changed some things about the business page, and this is free, by the way, so everybody knows. Edit your page. I've not seen it, but
Okay.
what you could do, you know what? Let me show you something. Where is that? You could feature You could feature it though. Watch this. So if you go to, I'm going to say, is it page post? All right. So when you have a post, you can feature it. I mean, let me try edit page again. So if I want to, this has gotten so frustrating because they changed the layout. Maybe it's the feed, but when you put in a new post, there's my feed. That's not it. Oh, no, Joyce, get with it here. Or I think that's the best way to do it. I think edit the page, post it. So, but I don't think they have it there. The short answer is really, I'm looking around in at workplace commitments. They do have, this is attract top talent. No, that's not it. Interested talent. I don't see that. Featured. Look at this. Manage featured. Okay. Whoa. So this means you've gone in and you have, see, I have this from here, these featured posts. So
Yep.
I want to, like, this is peer advisory board Mary was talking about. So you can go in and you could trash one or bring another one up. And I could add, you only can have 3 of these featured. So let's look at this as a member. So if you're here looking at my page, see, there it is. And here are these featured ones. So that's what I would do probably, James, is I'd write a
Okay.
post on your company page, directly to your company page, and have a visual in there that ties to whatever it is you were thinking of putting in a project, and just keep it there. Just keep it there as
Okay.
featured. Try that.
That'll work. Thank you.
Yeah. So think we're pretty much done. And any of you, I'm gonna get back to my own side. Stop the recording. Here we go.